This is going to be the video for Algebra 1, Unit 1, Skill 9. And this is going to be all about equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions refers to this idea that if I have a fraction, like 4 out of 12, for instance, say I have 4 over 12 as a fraction. Is there a way for me to make this more simple? In other words, can this be broken down into something smaller or more simplified than what it currently is? And the way you do that is you basically have to divide it by some number that's the same for the top and the bottom. In other words, is there a number that 4 and 12 are both divisible by? And so it should be hopefully pretty clear that 4 is that number. 4 is divisible by 4, and 12 is divisible by 4. So these numbers need to be the same in order for you to make an equivalent fraction. So when you do that, 4 divided by 4 equals 1, and 12 divided by 4 is equal to 3, and so that would be the equivalent fraction for 4 over 12. And so you have to know in the lesson what goes in that spot. So let me do one more example. Let's say I have 3 out of 30 is my fraction. So in other words, what are both of these numbers divisible by? Again, hopefully you'll see it's 3. And also 3. So we're dividing by 3 over 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 30 divided by 3 is 10. And so the reduced fraction would be 1 over 10. And my answer for what I'm simplifying by is 3 over 3. So if we hop over to our lesson, that's what they're having you do in questions 1 through 4. Which number would divide the numerator and denominator of the first fraction to yield the second fraction? In other words, what can I divide 5 and 10 by to make 1 and 2 over here? So in this case, it should be pretty clear. It's 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So we'd be looking at this answer right here. So notice it's always the same number. So same number top and bottom. You just need to figure out what number you divided by to get from 12 to 4 and from 15 to 5 in that one. Moving down to the bottom, they ask this question about cross multiply to determine whether fractions are equivalent. So let's take our example of 4 over 12 from the first problem and 1 over 3. And let's talk about how we could confirm that these are equivalent. So let's say we didn't know. And the question is, are these equivalent fractions? Well, if we want to determine that, we do what's called cross multiplication. Cross multiply means to take things that are diagonal from each other, like this, and multiply them and see if the answer you get is the same. So 4 times 3 would need to equal 12 times 1. And so we can see that 4 times 3 is 12, and 12 times 1 is 12. And so then the answer would be yes, they are equivalent. So for instance, if I had one like, let's say I had 2/3 and 12/17. It's like, would these two be equivalent? Would be our question. So we'd cross multiply 2 times 17 and 3 times 12. 2 times 17 is 34. 3 times 12 is 36. And so no, these are not equivalent fractions because they do not work out to the same number. So that's what you're doing from 5 to the end. You are doing cross multiplication between these two numbers and picking the answer choice that shows what you got when you did that and whether or not they were equivalent. So if it's not, you obviously choose the ones that have not equal, and then if it is equal, it'll be the one that has equal.